The story begins with a terrible disaster. A boy playfully throws a tennis ball into a drain, but he had no idea that this small act destroyed an entire kingdom living underground. Actually, this is the story of a genius boy named Arthur. He is very inventive. He built a brilliant irrigation system in his garden using pipes and straws, but his real trouble was that his parents had left him to go to the city, and he was living with his grandmother. His grandmother told him that his grandfather went looking for a treasure 4 years ago and mysteriously disappeared. Grandpa left behind only a book, which contained the story of tiny people called the Minimoys. Trouble increased when a greedy businessman barged into their home. He threatened that if the debt wasn't paid in 2 days, he would seize their house. Before leaving, that cruel man kicked Arthur's favorite red toy car into the drain. Arthur didn't give up. He looked for clues in his grandfather's old books and discovered that the treasure was buried right under the garden. But there was a condition. The path opens only on a full moon night, exactly at 12 o'clock. The right time arrived. Arthur set up a telescope in the garden. Suddenly, Grandpa's friends, a wild tribe, appeared and started a magical ritual. Arthur's body began to shrink, and he became a tiny 2mm elf and entered that magical world. Upon arriving, he saw a sword-pulling competition taking place. The princess used all her strength, but the sword didn't move. Suddenly, the villain soldiers attacked, riding on mosquitoes. The battle was fierce. Arthur seized the opportunity, pulled out the magic sword stuck in the rock, and defeated the enemies. Seeing this, the princess fell in love with him. Now, Arthur, the princess, and her little brother set out for the City of Devils to find the treasure. On the way, a giant centipede surrounded them, but they escaped via the river in a walnut shell. At a massive waterfall, Arthur used the princess's belt to save their boat from falling. Finally, they reached the villain's palace. There, they found Arthur's old grandfather in prison, but before they could escape, the villain caught them, threw them into a dark tunnel, and released water to drown them. Then, a massive connection happens in the story. In that tunnel, Arthur found the same red toy car that the businessman had thrown into the drain earlier. Arthur immediately wound up the car key, and they all escaped in the car, outrunning the flood. They returned safely to the city of Minimoys and closed the gate to stop the flood. Now, Arthur had only a few moments left to become human again. He kissed the princess and said goodbye. Arthur and Grandpa returned to the surface as humans. The businessman was just about to demolish the house, but Arthur found a clue. He noticed a red light coming from underground. To defeat the enemy, Arthur picked up the same tennis ball and threw it into the pipe, the one we saw at the beginning of the video. The ball went down, hit the villain's system, and destroyed everything. There was an explosion, and due to the water pressure, all the precious diamonds came up to the surface through the pipe. Arthur picked them up, gave them to the greedy businessman, and saved his home. In this way, a small boy saved 2 worlds from falling apart.